Hello and welcome back. No discussion of this period would be complete without discussion of Octavian, his rise to power, and the changes he would make to the empire. So let's get started. When we left off with the historical part of this period, we were talking about Julius Caesar and how he was murdered by Brutus, Cassius, and as many as 50 other of his closest friends on March 15, 44 BCE. Enter this guy, Octavian, Caesar's great-nephew and heir. Caesar had no male heir, so in his will he adopted his great-nephew Octavian as the main inheritor of all of his money, and he earned a lot of money enslaving Gaul. Octavian was born in 63 BCE to Gaius Octavius, a new man on the Roman political scene, and Atia, a niece of Gaius Julius Caesar. His father died when he was 4, and Octavian became one of many young men of his era to grow up without a father. He was never much of an athlete or a soldier, although he kind of looks like it in this picture, but he spent a lot of his time reading history and poetry and drama. He had a good relationship with his uncle Caesar, so at 16 he was appointed to a prestigious priesthood, one of the many ways of beginning a political career in Rome. When his uncle died suddenly, and he received all of his uncle's fortunes, he was only still a teenager. In the year 43, he made the audacious move of seizing the consulate, the highest office in Rome, by force. And in order to make this work, he had to strike a deal with the generals Mark Antony and Lepidus. And in the Treaty of Brundisium in 40 BCE, in the Second Triumvirate, this is what happened. Lepidus took over Spain and Africa. Octavian took Italy and much of Europe, and Mark Antony took the East. In order to seal the deal, Octavian forced his sister Octavia to marry Mark Antony. In 39, he officially took the title of Imperator, which loosely translated means one who commands. All good things come to an end, however, and the triumvirate that existed between him, Lepidus, and Mark Antony did not last. First, Lepidus was forced into retirement in 36 BCE. Next, Octavian decided that he had had enough of Mark Antony. Mark Antony was, amongst other things, a drunk and an unfaithful husband. He left Octavian's sister Octavia in Rome, while he had a very public affair with Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt. Here she is. And for the Roman people, this was just too much. So Octavian began planning for war, and his case for war was the following. Cleopatra was royalty, and the Romans despised kings. She was foreign. She worshipped un-Roman gods. In fact, she styled herself in her coinage as Isis, and she styled Mark Antony in his coinage as very un-Roman in the form of Apollo. Also, she had not one, but 2 babies with Mark Antony, while he was still married to Octavian's sister. This was a lot to take. Octavian was successful in his propaganda of painting her as a witch, and Mark Antony as being under her spell. And in 32, the people of Italy swore an oath of loyalty to Octavian. In 31, the Battle of Actium would take place, just off the coast of Greece here. And at Actium, Octavian's fleet destroyed that of Cleopatra and Mark Antony in a major naval engagement. The lovers fled and later committed suicide so that they wouldn't be captured. And on this coin, Octavian seems to celebrate his victory over Cleopatra. On the back it says, Egypt has been captured, with a picture of a Nile crocodile. Octavian came to power, and in 27 he officially gave up extraordinary powers that had been voted to him by the Senate during the Civil War, and was given the title Augustus by the Senate. This title, literally meaning reverend, holy, or sacred, was what he would be called for the remainder of his time in office. He was never called emperor. Here are some of Augustus's changes to the moral landscape of the empire. He put laws into effect, changed the way people dealt with family. In 18 BCE, he brought about the Lex Julia, which made adultery a criminal offense. He also wrote the Lex Papia, which made it illegal for people of senatorial class to remain celibate. What does that mean? It meant that you could not remain unmarried for more than 3 years if you were of senatorial class. Why was this? It's because Octavian, now Augustus, wanted to make sure that the senatorial class, which had destroyed itself during the civil wars, repopulated. So he legislated marriage. Also, he brought back an old tradition called paterfamilias, and this is something instituted first by Romulus. And this is where the father of a household was entitled to administer all family property, even of adult children, sell his own children into slavery if he felt it was fit, or even kill members of his household without legal repercussions. In 9 BCE, this altar, commissioned by the Senate, was completed as a monument to the Pax Augusta, or Augustan peace. It came about as a result of the rule of Augustus. It's called the Ara Pacis Augustae, or the altar of Augustan peace. We just call it the Ara Pacis for short. Now I'd like to talk to you about Mos Maiorum. What does Mos Maiorum mean? Mos Maiorum means tradition of our ancestors. Well, why do I want to talk to you about this? Something that changes in the time of Augustus, in the agreement that exists between the people and their government. And what happens is this. The Romans don't actually have a constitution in the traditional sense. They just have a Mos Maiorum, a tradition of our ancestors. And traditions have a way of being forgotten or remembered to suit people's needs. Not a single one of the powers that Augustus took up during his time in office was actually in any way extraordinary. It's the way he consolidated all of these powers at the same time that was new. In 23, he was given Tribunicia Potestas for life, and this means that he had broad powers normally accorded to elected officials for a one-year term. Only for him, it was on a permanent basis. By this time, he also had Sacrosanctitas, meaning touching his body was a capital offense. He permanently held Imperium, meaning power of life and death over those around him. None of these powers were new. What was new, though, was that one person had them all at the same time and didn't lay them down. And that's the interesting that happens with Augustus, is he takes traditional powers but wields them in non-traditional ways and consolidates them in non-traditional ways. The tradition of our elders can be kind of a dangerous thing, because when you've been in power long enough, everyone forgets the way things used to be. Now, Augustus did bring peace to the empire, and in a way, people were so exhausted with civil war that he probably was the kind of ruler that people were looking for. People wanted someone to tell them how things were going to be. And after a crisis such as the Civil War, in this case a period of civil wars, people tend to look for a strong man. Well, that's what happened here, and that's what they got.